I bought a very expensive exercise bike because I'm like, this is going to be the year of the exercise bike. And the only exercise I ever got on that bike was lugging it down to where it sat untouched for 18 months. And then I watched the first episode of the new series of Sex and the City. And in that episode, Big died on this exact same expensive exercise bike. And just like that, it was hard rubbish.
Please welcome Will Anderson.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Keep coming. So nice to be here. Thank you.
The real question is, why are you watching, or were you watching, a Sex and the City spin-off?
I mean, that is a good question.
Actually, another question.
Yeah,
Are you
okay.
more of a Samantha or a Charlotte kind of guy?
Yeah, see, I knew that. I knew that we can watch it together. It's okay. If that feels... I really, actually, I must say, like, particularly the Sex and the City, the original series, I genuinely do believe is excellent television. I think it's such a great sitcom. It's like the dynamic between those characters. And that's, I mean, it's such a good sitcom that I have watched so much crap that they have made since then in movie and series form based on the goodwill I have for the original series.
Will, you're obviously one of Australia's best comedians, but the other thing I know about you, big music guy, love music. You've just touched down in Melbourne. Taylor Swift. Fever is happening.
Yes.
What's your vibes towards Taylor?
Man, I love it. I dig the whole Taylor Swift thing. Like, I love that idea of eras. Like, people get mad normally when you do, like, old stuff and she's, like, turned it into a marketing opportunity. Like, I would love to do that in comedy. I might do, like, an eras tour at the Comedy Festival and just, like, bring out my long hair from 1998. Some jokes about John Howard.
Definitely some John Howard gear.
Yeah, I mean, all my stuff from my first show, which was about this new person on the Australian political scene who you probably don't even remember, called Pauline Hanson.
It was a short-lived
thing. She was never going to stick around.
But part of it is the costumes. So you're dressing 2001, dressing...
I would love that, don't you think?
So I think it would be great.
I think different eras of my comedy and, like, different eras of, like, I mean, there was some times there where...
Oh, the thongs and the nail polish.
Thongs and nail polish, dyed hair, like, do the whole thing. Like, have, I mean, this is an idea, right? But I love Taylor Swift. I like the whole... I mean, I think she's a good entertainer, but I love that the world is actually just sharing something again at the moment because now that we're in our own little groups all the time and talking about different things at different times, that shared thing of being able to say, this thing is on right now and we're all talking about the same thing. I think that's what we loved about the Matildas last year was everyone's talking about the same thing. And I feel exactly the same with Taylor Swift. I'm not even like a big fan of her music, but I just love the vibe of it all.
Well, don't say that.
No. I mean, I think this is even better because I'm like, I don't even have to be in on the music. I'm just in on the vibe. Here's what I would say, though. We talk a lot about our border policy in this country and how we use it. This is the one time. Cancel her visa. Keep her here. Like, there's other people who want to see the show. There's so many other people. Just get her. Like, remember when AC/DC went through Melbourne on the back of that truck and they were playing It's a Long Way to the Top? Right around Australia. We get Taylor Swift on the back of a truck and we make her drive from town to town. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't mean she has to do the actual driving herself, but like...
Just do the side shows. By the end of 5 years, she'll be performing to 40 people in a pub.
In an answer.
It's genius.
Yeah,
in fact, that's like you. Aren't you doing this show, your new show?
Will Legitimate. That's a hard one to say.
Thank you. This is my first day of doing press and I have discovered that today. It's always a real surprise when you go into a radio studio and they're like, so your show's called blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, Will Legitimate is the name of the show. And I need to point something out. So I have just a big list of names of my shows. And that's partly because, and you'd understand this, you have to get the name of your show in for festivals
it's a nightmare
before you've actually thought about what the show is about. So this is called Will Legitimate, but there is no meaning to the show. But the show is about, I found out something about my dad that I did not know, last year.
Mystery.
And people I've discovered today combined the name Will Legitimate and me saying... Now, there is no link. It is not about my dad having an illegitimate family or anything.
You probably should have thought about that before.
Hadn't. It was called that regardless before I came up with the idea.
Why did you take that off the table? It could have been a real mystery. I would have come to see something that could have been that.
I know, but I can't... imply. I love my family, and for the sake of marketing a show at the Comedy Festival, I can't be like, I reckon my dad might have been a rumor.
I reckon Taylor might have had a crack at a marketing strategy. Hey, but it does raise the question: how do you even get a secret out of an elderly family member like that?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
On a podcast.
What?
Yeah.
He was on a podcast.
He was on a podcast.
He was on a podcast.
We got him a podcast for his birthday, for his 80th birthday.
What do you mean you got him a podcast?
We got it so he only listens to one podcast. Like he wouldn't know how
Is
to
it
download
Philosophy?
it. No, I have 4 podcasts.
Yeah,
Never
right.
listen to it. But I prefer it that way as well. We have a nice agreement where we both don't.
Separation.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. That's good. That's how we actually need it. But he loves a podcast called The Howie Games. Mark Howard's a brilliant sports journalist, and he does interviews with famous sports people. And my dad gets my mum to download it onto his like an iPod, and he just listens to it like an old transistor radio, and he loves it. And so for his 80th birthday, because he doesn't talk to the family about his life and what he's like, we got him in a room with Howie, and Howie did a podcast with him about his life.
And he revealed.
In that, I found out something about my dad. So I tell the story of finding out this thing about my dad and how it all came about, and that's a so. See, I don't have to
This is so
imply.
true, no.
I don't have to
That's
imply.
got me now.
Yeah,
You totally
now,
got me.
Oh, yeah, you've got me too.
So, yeah.
That's a big secret to keep secret after 2
How are
years
you
on the
gonna-
road.
2 years. Someone's going to blab.
Well, you know what? Will is taking his show right across the country over the coming months and years. All of the ticketing info is on our website. Would you please thank Will Anderson?